Okay friends, one of the first things we need to do to get started on this job is to safely raise and support the truck. After you've done that, remove your center cover here, and then remove all 6 of your 21mm lug nuts and get the wheel off. Now that the wheel's off, let's go ahead and get this ABS wire disconnected. I'm just going to come right along here and then remove this 8mm bolt. Now let's go ahead and remove our anchor bolt for our flex hose for the brakes. The next thing we need to do is remove our 2 caliper bracket bolts. There it is. I'm just going to start that in a couple threads. Now we're going to remove our caliper and we're going to hang it so it puts no pressure on the flex hose. Let's remove the rotor. Let's go ahead and remove our vacuum lines here. Let's go ahead and remove this little center cover. Now let's remove our axle nut. Now we're just going to push on this axle stub here. If it doesn't move, just go ahead and put the nut back on a few good threads and then give it a couple loving bonks with a hammer. Now let's go ahead and get this off of here. Let's go ahead and follow that ABS wire. Just continue disconnecting it up along the way here. Comes up to this area. Come in from the back. You're going to see you have a little push button. Go ahead and push on that and then separate the two. Now let's go ahead and get our cotter pin out for our tie rod. Set that aside for recycling. Let's remove the nut. Now we're going to use a hammer and we're going to hit right on the knuckle right here to try to break this free. Now let's remove our upper ball joint nut. Now we're just going to separate these two. So now we're just going to go ahead and put that nut on just a couple small threads here. That's going to help prevent this knuckle from falling down when we relieve the lower ball joint. The next thing I want to do is pull down on the upper control arm, and we're going to put it just like this so it leaves a nice gap between the knuckle and the nut itself so we can move down to the lower ball joint. Let's just leave this on a couple threads. Now the next thing that we need to do is carefully bonk on the knuckle and try to separate the ball joint from it. Let's remove that nut. Hold up on your knuckle, remove the lower ball joint nut, bring it down and slide it out and away from the vehicle. Next, let's go ahead and put our axle up on top of our sway bar link so it's out of the way, and then we'll continue on to spraying the lower ball joint upper area. Now looking at it from the top, you'll be able to see that there's a snap ring on this. We're going to go ahead and spread this clip, and then what we're going to try to do is just peel it right off of that ball joint. Watch your eyes. Now it's going to be time to get our lower ball joint out of the lower control arm. To do that, you want to use a ball joint press to get it out. You could of course also use a hammer in case you don't have access to this. Just give it a couple loving bonks along the top and be careful for when it shoots out the bottom. There it is, friends. Okay friends, now it's going to be time to get ready to start installing our brand new lower ball joint. One of the first things I want to mention is we're going to take off this nut right here, and then also we're going to remove the boot. You want to be careful not to tear it in any way. I'm going to use a nice screwdriver, get in between here, and carefully pry down. We'll remove this, and we'll set this stuff aside. Let's go ahead and clean up this area. So we're going to go ahead and install our ball joint using that ball joint kit with the cup that just barely fits onto the lip right here. We want to be very careful not to damage any of the center aspect. You're going to have a short cup that looks like this. That's going to go just like that. Grab the ball joint press and get it set up. So what we're going to do here is try to press the ball joint straight up and into the control arm. We only want to go until it bottoms out. You don't need to go too much further than that. But you do want to make sure that it's going up as straight as possible. After you have it so it's completely bottomed out, what you're going to want to do is give this a couple loving bonks with your hammer. Just be careful. The reason why we did that is to help make sure that it's completely settled in. Remove your ball joint press. Now let's go ahead and put on our snap ring. There we are. Just give those ears a couple bonks. We just want to kind of spin it in the groove to make sure it's completely situated. Now it's going to be time to get our boot back on there. You want to pay special attention to it and just make sure it's not damaged in any way. We're going to find a cup that fits right over and along the lip right here. We don't need to squish on this area. This fits perfectly. Put it up on here. Double check to make sure it's completely seated the whole way around. All right, let's go ahead and clean down this area. All right, let's go ahead and get this axle back inside the bearing there. We're going to slide the knuckle up so we can get the ball joint started on the lower aspect here. There we are. Go ahead and give that axle a nice wiggle, and it should want to set right in, and then it's going to be coming out the other side here. Let's snug this up. Now we're going to torque this to 85 foot-pounds, and then we'll continue on to putting on the cotter pin. Now the next thing you want to do is line up the slots on the nut to the hole in the stud for the ball joint. If for some reason after you torque it, it doesn't line up, continue tightening until the very next slot does. The next thing we need to do is get our axle inside the knuckle as we push the knuckle up. You want to be very careful not to damage your internal seal. Now I'm just going to take a pry bar, come in and under here, and then I'm going to try to put the ball joint through the knuckle. Go ahead and start that nut. Snug it up. Torque it to 85 foot-pounds. What you want to do next is make sure that you have your slot lined up with the hole on your ball joint stud. If for some reason it isn't, you need to continue tightening until it is. Next, take your cotter pin, go ahead and put it through the slot and the hole, and then of course, lock it down. Now before we can continue on to putting the brakes together, we want to make sure that the hub mating surface and the back of the rotor mating surface is nice and clean. After you've done that, apply a little bit of copper never seize. Let's go ahead and get our rotor back on here. I'm going to start a lug nut on so it holds the rotor for me. Let's get our caliper reattached. We're going to use some thread locker, of course, on the bolts. Start them both in, and then we're going to torque them to 185 foot-pounds. Let's get our vacuum lines reattached. Now we're going to reconnect in our bracket. ABS wire. Let's snug them up. Let's start resecuring our ABS wire. Make sure you go up and in between the brake line here, just like that. This looks good for now. Make my way down here. Got a little push clip. It's going to go into your hole right there. The rest of it should just line up. We'll continue on. Making our way up here, let's make sure we reconnect in our ABS wire, listen for a click, and then of course give it a nice tug. After that, you want to make sure that you secure it back in up here. Make sure everything's nice and secured and it's definitely not rubbing up against anything and there's no way it can get caught. Let's get the outer tie rod end on here. Snug this up, torque it to 85 foot-pounds. The next thing we want to do is make sure that our slots line up with the hole in the stud for the tie rod. If for some reason it doesn't, you need to continue tightening until the next one does. Install your locking cotter pin and then lock it down. Let's get the wheel back up on here. Start all of your lug nuts, snug them up, and torque them to 150 foot-pounds. Torqued. Okay friends, so that's pretty much it, aside from making sure you pump up that brake pedal and then get yourself safely down to an alignment shop.